Welcome to Ellis B. Feaster's Radio Air Check and Classic TV channel.
27 after the hour here in the Imus in the Morning program. One of the people I've talked about for years on this program is the leading literary agent in America from ICM, Esther Lobster Newburg. Good morning, Miss Newburg.
Good morning, Donald.
How you doing, baby?
Who is that Mac character who's never heard of Lobster Newburg? Who is he?
I don't know.
Well, he answered the phone at your radio station.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know. Don't be offended by someone who's never heard of you. So.
I was so sad hearing you talk about Fred, actually. Because it's true, he was the nicest guy ever. Remember when we did those books?
Yes, I do.
Yes. Well, I only called to say that part of me is really going to miss you, and part of me is thrilled that you're going to be off the air because you were so... I mean, how many times can a human be called a bridge troll?
Well, I mean, I can't say I'm sorry. I mean, you are a bridge troll.
You are. You could say it, but you're not going to, but that's okay. Is Deidre going to stay with you?
Well, why wouldn't she?
What?
What do you mean going to stay with me? Where would she go?
It's like Melania and Donald. I mean, you think she's going to stay with him?
Well, yeah, but I don't cheat on Deirdre.
Well, you can't anymore, probably.
Oh, snap.
I could stand him on her head and drop it in.
Oh, God.
Anyway.
Have a wonderful life, and when you're in New York, I'll take you to Cremola, because the guy there is going to have a nervous breakdown when you're off the air.
Yes. Well, they do enough business, but...
They do enough business, but he especially likes you. It's so sad.
On a sincere note, Lobster, you've been a great sport. By the way, Esther got the nickname Lobster from Kinky Friedman. Right. You've been a great sport all these years.
I love to see you doing this. Oh, so
you've been a great agent for me and friends of mine and stuff, and so I'm sorry about, that we had to bring up the whole Chappaquiddick thing, but I mean, it's just, you were there, and it's just...
Yeah, but I'm not in the movie because I had my lawyer take my name out because it's a piece of dreck. Dreck translated into English is a word I can't say.
Well, you're not in the movie, and you weren't in the car either, so gotta thank you, Lucky Stars for that.
That is so funny.
That's the Newburg here. Thank you, Esther. 21 till the hour here in the Imus Morning program on Telecom. Well, Benard McGuirk, my favorite songs. Please welcome to the program my boy, Benard McGuirk. Good morning, Mr. McGuirk.
Hey, Mr. Imus.
How did I meet you, Bernie?
I continue at your behest, Mr. Imus, to deny that it was when I was handing out towels at the bathhouse down in the village back in the 80s. But I was an intern at WNBC Radio.
How did you get that job?
The internship was I just applied for it. I used to drive a taxi, and I listened to WNBC, the I-Man, Howard Stern, and I'm like, hey, that sounds like a good plan. I was going to college at the same time. I just applied it, and I got the internship. But it was when your producer, this guy, Lyndon Abel, broke his leg. They needed somebody to actually physically go get coffee for the I-Man, and they paid me something like $10 an hour to go do it. My first paying job ever in the business, and that's how it started. And then, of course, shortly after that, I was working promotions. I was working the liaison between the helicopter lady, Roz Frank, and your studio boss.
Yeah.
And I did a couple of voices, Hector Macho Camacho, Mitch Blood Green, Don Cricky, etc. And shortly after that, I became the I-Man's producer back in '87. And that's how it started, back at WNBC Radio.
Was that before I went to rehab?
That was, no, it was during. As a matter of fact, my first day at WNBC Radio. My very first day, sitting at a desk, filing paper, going through papers, and the I-Man was rampaging up and down the station with just wearing a bathrobe, screaming and cursing at the top of his lungs, and I'm like, wow, this is going to be fun. That was my very first. So that was pre-rehab, and then during that time, you did go to rehab, and afterward, I got the job with you.
So, and then wasn't shortly after that we went to change frequencies. We went to FAN, right?
About a year after that, yes. 1988, we went to WFAN, changed the frequencies, and a whole new chapter began, as you discussed with Lou Ruffino earlier.
So you had been on the air a little bit at NBC.
Yes. Doing, as I said, a couple of voices and, that kind of thing.
Can you still do...
Yes, Macho, Hector Macho Camacho. Yo, Imus, man, what's up? It's Imus. It's Macho time. That kind of thing.
What was the other one you were doing?
Mitch Blood Green. Remember he got into the fight with Mike Tyson and Don Criqui. I used to scream out loud, get my voice as deep as possible, and do, do corny jokes as Don Criqui. Jokes that he would never do, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Just the very blue jokes that Criqui would cringe at. But that type of thing.
Well, so I wonder if there was any thought on my part, once we got to FAN, before we turned the mics on in the studio, of putting you on the air.
There may have been, may have been.
Did we ever discuss it, or?
No, not formally. But I had done a couple of things for the I-Man prior to FAN.
And then you met your wife at NBC, right?
I did. That was the whole deal with. I met my wife, and listen, thanks to the I-Man, I met my wife, and also bought and paid for a beautiful house, raised a beautiful family. They wanted for nothing, and again, all praise and glory to the I-Man. Without you, Mr. Imus, I'd be an ex-cop in jail doing time for having killed a perp or something like that. There's no doubt about it.
None of that's true. But I'm just wondering what would have happened had we not turned the mics on in the studio.
Yeah, that's an excellent question.
The same thing about Connell. If I hadn't called him, when Charles tennis shoed the place, I'll let Connell tell that story. I mean, we damn near didn't get Connell. So it's all these things that happened, and you've been like a you know how I feel about you. I really love you, and you've been wonderful for this program. I couldn't be prouder that you're going to take over the program. You and I feel nearly the same about Sid. I love Sid. And I think it's great.
I am very humbled and so lucky to have been a part of this Imus juggernaut, without which again none of this happens. Nothing. And so to be, I remember thinking back then to work with a legend like Mr. Imus. I mean, what could be better than that? And I started out a kid from the Bronx. I didn't have to go to Iowa or South Dakota or any of these normal routes that people went. All right here in New York, I was a very, very lucky person. All riding the I-Man's coattails.
Let's not start blubbering here, okay?
All right, take it easy, Lou.
Here's the end. Calm down. Thank you, Bernie. Thanks for being with me all this time, baby. Thanks for having my back.
Thank you, boss.
There's a number of people I want to mention. I guess I do. Before I sign off, but I wasn't going to wait until the last day to cram it all in. But just going back to the first station. The guy that hired me, I believe his name, some of these people are probably dead. But I was telling Sid, I said, it seems like 50 years. It doesn't seem like it went by that fast.
Wow.
But there was Mike Porter and Jerry Stevens and one of the great rock and roll disc jockeys ever, Robert W. Morgan, who died. And Ron Jacobs, one of the great program directors, and he died. KSJ, Los Angeles, and all that. The great Claude Hall, Billboard magazine, who really was responsible for making me a national name when I was still in Sacramento. The great columnist Herb Cain from the San Francisco Chronicle. Guy hired me in Sacramento. Jack Thayer took me to Cleveland. The great John Lund, the program guy. Oh, God. And that guy had so many good ideas. They're stupid. And still program stuff, by the way, that John Lund does. Perry Bascom, he was there at NBC, and Pat Whitley. The greatest sales manager I've ever worked for in my life, Dom Camera. Nobody better than Dom Camera. Nobody. So, I mean, there were a few other guys who were good, but nothing like him. And then when I got fired at NBC back in the 70s, whenever it was, 78, I guess, John Chafee, who was the national program director for Malrite Broadcasting in Cleveland and all of their stations, he's the guy who put Kid Leo on MMS, the Buzzard, in Cleveland. Great radio station. God, great. I worked across the hall from him when I went back to Cleveland. He hired me to go back to Cleveland. Gave me more money than I was making in New York when I got fired, and a brand new Corvette. Yeah. So, and then there was, my God, the guy who brought me back to New York, and he's died, and God, I loved him to death. The great Bob Sherman. And Bob Pittman, I love Bob. I remember Jim Collins.
Oh, yeah. Nice guy. Nice man.
Well, we had so much fun. He's the most negative bastard I ever met in my life.
His cat committed suicide. Oh, he jumped out the
Remember
window.
that story? I can't have time to tell you now. I will, though. That was a terrible thing that I did. It reminded me, Sid, to tell him the Jim Collins cat story.
Okay.
And then and Jim committed suicide, unfortunately. And then there's a box on my screen, Lou. And then Dale Parsons, guy took me to rehab, he and Collins. Bob Wright, who was at NBC, he was great. Chernoff, I loved Chernoff.
Oh, yeah.
I loved Mark Chernoff. And then Fareed Suleiman. And Patrick Gotts at RFD, I love him. And Steve Bordeman, I love working for Steve. And the great Roger Ailes. And Mel Karmazin. I mean, Mel's the smartest person. I think he's the smartest person I've ever met in my life. And he was so much fun to work for, wasn't he, Bernie?
Oh, yeah. Funny guy, witty.
He'd come over once a month. Understand, he's running the whole network. He still would come over and see me once a month and tell me how much I sucked and I couldn't beat Howard.
He was like Don Rickles.
It was just a scream. And he really made me. I mean, the reason I got everything is partly, stock options and Mel Karmazin. And I'm talking about a lot of money, so. And then the crucial people. So we'll talk about them a little bit on Thursday. The great Michael Lynn and Robert Andrews and Vinny Andrews, Martin Garbus and Esther and Mel. And there's probably a couple others in there, but we're going to hear from Bill from White Plains. Is he on the line yet?
Not yet, almost.
Wonder where he is. Did I leave anybody out, Sid? Can you think of? Bernie?
Bob,
let's see.
What about Bob Gelb?
I love Gelb.
You see, there you go. Bob Gelb. One of the greats.
Peg Kelly from WNBC.
Yes, I liked her.
One of the greats. Lee Davis.
Lee Davis.
I love Lee Davis.
Yep.
His dad.
Yep.
Paula Schneider.
Who?
Paula Schneider.
What are you talking about, idiot?
Kaplan.
Well, some of the talent on the program, I mean, the great Larry Kenney,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Al Rosenberg, Larry Chance, people like that. Lisa Denton for a while. I mean, there were some great people. Now, please welcome on the Imus Wayne program, Bill from White Plains. Morning, Bill.
Good morning, I-Man. It's Bill from White Plains.
Yes, I just said that.
I don't know if you remember me.
Well, yes, I do.
A little bit.
Well, you've been forgetting a lot of things lately, I-Man. You forget to come to work on Fridays. You also been forgetting to be funny today. So is it true, I-Man? Is it true? Are you retiring?
Well, I'm not retiring, but I'm stopping doing the Imus in the Morning program.
Well, I've been listening to you since I was a kid, when I was little Billy from White Plains.
Sure.
So what are you going to do now, I-Man? You need a microphone to be heard.
Well, I wonder about that.
Are you going to spend more time with the little woman? I bet she's excited about that.
Well, I'm...
Hey, I-Man. How long before she puts you into one of those retirement homes?
I would say 6 weeks.
She's going to be telling you, it's going to be fine, honey. You'll make new friends. They have lots of nice activities there. But it might not be so bad, I-Man. You could do the morning announcements on the PA system. Tell them what time exercise class is.
That would be
What's on the
good.
menu for lunch.
Sure.
When would nap time be?
Round
Like
2.
your own morning show.
Sure.
Might be right now.
Better yet, I mean, you could announce the numbers on Wednesday Night Bingo in your style. G22. Oh, your feet is fuzzy. Hey, I-Man,
Yes, Bill.
I'm going to really miss you.
I'm sure you are.
And your cast of characters, I love all the people on your show. Especially Mike Breen. He was the best.
It was great.
You know, I heard him on your show recently, I-Man, and he told you he loved you.
Right.
You fired him 17 times, and he still loves you.
Well,
He must be an idiot.
I don't think he's that, but...
Hey, I-Man,
Yeah?
I'm not an emotional type, but I have to tell you something.
Sure.
I love you, too. So listen, I-Man, it's time for me to say for the very last time. Good talking to you, I-Man.
Good. There's little Paul Simon now. Mike Breen. God, what a talent. And one of the better human beings on the planet, isn't he, Bernie?
Unquestionably. Nice man.